Did the UK authorities cover up the trafficking of 3 British schoolgirls who joined the notorious Daesh terror group back in 2015?
Okay, so now I'm joined with Shamima Begum's solicitor, Tasneem Akunji. Jazakallah khair for joining us.
Brother Vikram, what's up? How are you?
And of course, you guys may be familiar with the case that he handled of Tommy Robinson, pretty much brought him to his knees, took him through the courts and humbled Tommy Robinson. So alhamdulillah, we're fortunate to have yourself here with us today. Okay, so the first question I think we all want to know about this is, in terms of the insight that you can give us, what have we missed in this case so far?
Well, I mean, Shamima Begum's matter has been going on since February 2015, so that's over some 7 years, and a lot's gone on, to be fair, in that period of time. What's come out in a book by Richard Carbage is that the Canadian security services were involved in the trafficking of Shamima themselves across the border from Turkey into Syria, and that was a Canadian security service agent called Mohammed al-Rashid. I don't know if the viewers have missed this or not, but this was known back in March 2015, and we specifically wrote a letter to Sajid Javed, who was Home Secretary at the time, outlining the fact that she'd been trafficked by a Canadian security service agent. What's different now, as of the last couple of days, is that the Canadians, it appears, had admitted that they'd done this, and they'd admitted it to the UK police, namely Mr. Richard Walton, who was head of the investigation into the 3 girls at the time. And what is quite shocking is that it appears that the Canadians begged the UK and the Turkish authorities to cover up their role in her trafficking. At least on the UK side, that appears to have been the case. The police did not mention anything around this to us or the families of the 3 girls, despite the fact that we'd written to them and asked specifically about this, and they'd rather disingenuously written back to us in April 2015 to say that they had no updates. And now we know that that's simply not the case. That's untrue.
Okay, so that's actually quite significant. So the highlight over here, what would you say is the key point over here?
The key point is that we have, at a time when the UK government was spending treasure and time in Libya, a failed state, trying to get one of the co-conspirators of the Ariana Grande bombing back to the UK. This is a person who murdered a large number of people in a bombing, certainly a very dangerous person. The British government was out there desperately trying to bring him to the UK, so he faced a trial and went to prison, which is what he did. He had over 20 convictions for murder. But at exactly the same moment, the British government stopping Shamima Begum from coming back into the UK or facing any sort of trial. And it appears that they were happy to try and cover up the fact that Shamima Begum, a child, had been trafficked by one of the Western security services agencies. And they were covering that up. And it appears that there may be more reason why a cover-up was taking place in Shamima's case, and why she was treated very differently from Abedi, the co-conspirator in the Ariana Grande bombing.
Okay, so we're familiar, definitely living here in the UK. We've had this case being dragged through the media, radio, television, and there has been a general consensus that Shamima Begum should not be allowed back into this country. But now, with the Canadian Secret Service being involved, do you think it's a simple open and shut case now? Is it as simple as that?
Well, nothing's ever made simple by the UK government. These are strong arguments that will be deployed in November in the SIAC court hearing, where we are appealing the decision by Sajid Javed to strip her of citizenship. And the fact is that had the Canadian security services not been involved in actively taking her across the border, but for their involvement, would we have had her home? Or would even the other number of British citizens who he trafficked, would they even be in Syria either? And at the time, we were very surprised in February 2015 as to how quickly Shamima and the others managed to get off a plane in Istanbul and into Syria so quickly. Our experience had been that where individuals are beating that path there, they had often taken a week to 2 weeks stuck in Turkey before they could cross over the border. So the efficiency of the girls, 3 girls crossing that border, was frankly shocking to us. We thought we had time for the Turkish authorities to track them and to block their travel. Now, that type of efficiency is no longer surprising when you've got a Western state who are part of that trafficking process. So it wasn't just criminals, smugglers, and it wasn't just a terrorist organization, a ragtag bunch of people operating some sort of cobbled together operation to take these children into their war zone and into ultimately many of their deaths. It was the national agency of a spy agency of a very mature Western government that was doing that. And they were doing that whilst they're supposed to be allies of Britain. And they were doing that whilst they were supposed to be protecting the lives of the citizens of these Western countries. But they were doing the exact opposite.